Hello, it's Jeanette with a session emphasizing the lower body and the hips. We're going to do a little warm up first. Let's have our feet touching, legs bent, hands behind the head or under your neck. Let the arms keep your upper body in place while your lower body rotates left to right. Warming up your spine, lower spine. Great thing to do both in the morning and in the evening. Okay. Now put your feet wider than your mat is, and we're going to move left to right again, but this time not so much to spine, but more the hips. So there's still a little bit of rotating in the lower spine, but very little compared to the previous one. And now it's all hips. So your knees go down as far as you can easily at whatever pace you want to do. You can go faster or slower and let your legs take time to get down. We're going to be doing this one as a release shortly. But first, let's do a little bit more warm up. Pull your one knee into your chest, straighten out your other leg, and let's take 3 deep breaths. Expand both into your abdomen and into your rib cage. And let your lower back come slowly more into the floor. Then change. The other leg comes towards you now. Your hands are behind your thigh, not above the lower leg, but behind the thigh to avoid pressure on the knee. Let's do 3 deep breaths now again. Feel all the breathing movement. The abdomen rising, the ribs spreading. Now have your one leg bent, the other one up into the air, little hamstring stretch. You can hold here on the thigh, behind your knee or behind your calf, and 3 deep breaths here. Let the tension in your body melt, disappear. Switch sides, other foot down. Now the other leg stretching. 3 deep breaths. Okay, now both your legs down, feet hip width apart. And we're going to do bridging 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now we're going to go up and stay there. Put your hands underneath you if you can, and clasp your fingers. Then start working your shoulders underneath you farther, and you'll find that you can make a bigger arch with your body. And let's take 3 deep breaths here now. Come back down. And now we're ready for our first release for 5 minutes. Your feet go again wider than the mat. And let's let the legs go to the left. And this time we stay. I've got the timer going. Hands under your neck or head. And now start to deeply relax. This is all about giving into gravity. And I call that fearlessly relaxing. Because your hips initially go like, well, we can't go that far. And they start to sort of guard against more movement than they're used to doing. So that requires relaxation of the muscles in the first place. And then after that, actually getting some releasing, meaning that you go into more tissue mobility, more opening of your body than usually happens with your movements. Give permission for some little bits to become part of the movement system again. Little bits that have forgotten how to be mobile, how to move. Little parts that have become solidified rather than fluid and soft. Just letting your legs go towards the floor. And then when there's discomfort, you check. Well, I'm lying on the floor. Am I doing something that could hurt me? Well, probably not. Make sure that that is true for you. It may not be in cases such as having recently had a hip replacement or having osteoporosis, or who knows. Everyone is different, and people's bodies are in different conditions. So please be sure for yourself. But for most people, this is perfectly safe. The one leg is turning inward and the other outward. You might start to feel it up into your torso more, maybe in your abdomen, or maybe you feel a pull in the front of one of the legs, or maybe one of the inner thighs. Keep checking and feeling and giving in. It takes active attention to do that just as well as it does in self-care like this, as it does in myofascial release treatment. When a therapist works with you and you can stay focused on allowing and being willing and so on, more will happen. More fascial freedom will come about. I can feel my legs going down a little bit more again. And then it seems like the brain says, well, I don't think we can go farther than this. And when I notice that, I go like, well, maybe we can. Just using the weight of the legs. Oh, that's it for that side. Slowly come out of it. Pull your legs up into you for a second. Put them back down again, wider than your mat or wider than your hips and torso. And now we go to the right. 5 minutes. The legs, the hips seem to say, you just had me go that other way. Now I got to go this way? I say, yeah. So start relaxing anew in your torso, around the hips, in the pelvis. Let go of the legs. And realize that the internal pelvis, or what we often call the pelvic bowl, is right between your two hip joints. The hip joints are large ball and socket joints. Some of their muscles come from internally in the pelvis, part of the muscular pelvic bowl that lies within the bones of the pelvic bowl. And so maybe at this point you can feel a letting go between the hips. Almost a small sensation of the hips moving away from each other, getting more space between them. Just imagine that, whether you get a sensation of it or not. More space for the hips, more space for the bladder, more space for the rectum, more supple muscles to take care of moving your hips. Of course, taking a deeper breath from time to time is always a good idea during these releases. Try to notice where the resistance is. Where is your body doubting that it can allow more? And then say, well, maybe today we can just nibble off a little bit of that resistance, a little bit of that stiffness, and start believing a different thing. More movement. Better quality of movement. Oh, there they go. My left leg just felt like it went quite a bit more. When you get that, when you've been sitting there at the same spot, it feels like quite something, even though it's a very small amount of actual movement. Another way that you can tell that your body is resisting is that you don't feel like doing it anymore. You feel like, ugh, isn't that 5 minutes over yet? Okay, that's it for this one. Just a short one.